my interest in sport as a referee and as an ex-player is just to offer something else into the community. I have an interest and a love for football, and I just thought that's one way I could help. My name is Trevor Johnston. I am the program manager for Vanuatu. I've been working with VSA for about 3 years now. I first went to Kiribati as the program manager for a year and a half, and then I've just been in Vanuatu for a year and a half. So arriving last year, January 2020. My role is particularly developing assignments or projects in Vanuatu, and then with those projects, VSA sends volunteers to fill those positions and build capacity with local counterparts. I got to Vanuatu in January 2020, and very shortly after that, we got hit by COVID. At the same time, the northern part, where the volunteers, for VSA offices, got hit by a Cyclone Harold, and we had to get all our volunteers out. So that was at the end of March. My wife and I decided to stay. I just felt I could be of more service in Vanuatu with the cyclone. So I went back up north to assist there. And the devastation was horrific. And through the recovery process, there was a lot of aid coming in. Through the recovery process, I felt I needed to give back in another way. So I was sport in Vanuatu is quite popular, and because I'm a referee and I've refereed in New Zealand and South Africa, I decided to just offer my service as a referee. Things then developed from there when I realized at one of the tournaments that a lot of there was a lot of focus on men's football. So there's quite a lot of support in men's football, particularly with the officials, whereas in the women's football there was virtually nothing. They had one female referee for the tournament. So I offered to support and refereed quite a few games for the women's tournament and a couple of men's games as well. I also realized that there's a real need for referee development, and so together with the referee development officer, we put together a strategy for referee development, and particularly with a focus on young referees, getting them with a hope to developing a pathway for them to get to the 2023 World Cup, Women's World Cup, which is in New Zealand and Australia. So that's what I've been doing. I've been running a number of referees courses. I've been helping with the women's refereeing, and also realized then that they had no equipment, no, not even a whistle. So I helped raise 50,000 baht to sponsorship with an organization, a local company called Santo Hardware, that's actually managed by a New Zealander who used to be with Bunnings. So it was quite an interesting story. And that's been going really well. I've got 13 referees that I work with, and basically after work we do training sessions and we do a lot of coaching sessions, and then that was going on for probably 7 months, to the point that 3 young women referees were then selected to referee at the national tournament in January, which was fantastic. And one of the young girls had never been to Port Vila. She'd never been out of Luganville to go down to Port Vila, and I refereed the women's final, and she was one of the assistant referees in that final. And her dream is to be a FIFA referee. On the other side, I've also helped with the coaching. There's no youth football in Vanuatu. A lot of focus on the men's and women's senior football, so there's no real youth program. They do have what they call Just Play that runs in the schools, but there's no competitive youth football on the weekend. So I secured $1 million Batu sponsorship from a company for 4 years. So they'll basically give 250,000 Batu a year for that program. So that includes developing young coaches, using the youth referees for those matches on a Saturday. So it's really a run like First Kicks in New Zealand, where they have some skills training and then the end of the small games match at the end. So part of that sponsorship involves buying equipment, coaching the referees and having young coaches as well. A lot of young people, there are a couple of speed bumps in terms of them becoming employed. So obviously they're in school. With COVID, there's been a lot of closures of the schools or shutdowns, and some of them had to some of them have dropped out of school. Actually, quite a lot of young people, particularly over the age of 15, have dropped out of school. Of the 13 young people that I'm working with, all of them have dropped out of school or are unemployed. So that's given them an opportunity. So they get paid every time they referee a match as well. So that's money in the pocket, you know. So, but them getting skilled up as referees, they come on a Saturday. Um, they earn some money, which then goes back to the family, of course. So that's a really awesome opportunity for them. Um, while the facilities are the same, the you're not going to find the top coaches managing or coaching a women's team. The resources for equipment's not going to be there. So a lot of the women play barefoot, whereas in the next field is a men's game, and they got shin guards and the latest soccer boots. You know, so and sometimes the women don't even have um, uniforms, so they're playing with bibs. So that's the big discrepancy between the male and women's game. And then the referees, there are no referees. The referees, there's more prestige refereeing the men's game, so they're not going to referee the women's game. And what I was trying to do was role model that I'm a top referee. For me, refereeing is equal across the board, and I'm happy to referee a women's game. And there were a lot of the local men referees were quite surprised, you know, because they couldn't understand why I'd want to referee a women's game. Uh, and so I was trying to role model that we the same amount of prestige we put in the men's game, we need to put in the women's game, and the opportunities for the development of women in football, particularly with the women's game having grown so much in the last 10 years, and the Women's World Cups in Australia, New Zealand. How awesome would it be to get a Vanuatu women's team qualified for the World Cup, you know?